Good morning, Adelaide. My name is Con and I am the Conversationalist. And as always, my drink of choice is my latte. This morning, my guest is Sevva Nelson from IRIS I.T. Now, Sevva's resume and extensive CV was so long, I had to absolutely cut the guts out of it. So my apologies in advance to Sevva. Very briefly though, Sevva bought a business called CompuNets in 2016, rebranded it to IRIS I.T, and provides managed services provider assisting small to medium enterprises throughout South Australia. Services range from help desk support, infrastructure, and project management and strategy. Sevva has studied at RMIT and qualified COBOL programmer. She's got an extensive IT career, including 8 years at Cybiz, from state manager to executive director, extensive industry in the food industry, where she set up supply chains, supplying some of the biggest shopping centres and indeed supermarkets. Good morning, please welcome Sevva. How are you this morning, Sevva?
Good morning, Con. How are you?
I'm very, very well. As I said, your resume is very impressive and quite extensive. So if I've missed anything that was really significant, my apologies in advance.
No problem at all. No, that's
Sevva, tell me, in your the information you sent me, you meant you're a managed service provider. Can you just give our viewers a little bit of background as to what a managed services provider actually does or is?
Sure. Okay. A managed service provider is an organisation that will actually partner with a business and go in and have a look at their systems, set them up so that they work optimally and they're efficient to how the business needs to operate. And then what a managed service provider will do is actually monitor networks, servers, backups, and pretty much be on the forefront of any problems that may arise. So on a daily basis, a managed service provider will have people looking at all their clients' systems and networks remotely, and be able to identify any issues that may occur often before the client even knows that they've happened. So we can actually be on the forefront of actually fixing those issues.
Wow. Okay. Very good.
So it's
very
monitoring.
good.
It's monitoring systems.
Sure. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, you've obviously got a very extensive, well-credentialed background in the IT industry, and IT, I liken a bit like to the medical profession, where the advances that we've seen in the last 5 years have far outweighed what we probably saw in the previous 50, and likely what we'll see in the next 2 will far outweigh what we've seen in the previous 5. So what are some of the biggest, I guess, changes, developments that you've seen in your time?
Okay, well, I've been in the industry since the mid-80s, and that's a long time. So I've seen quite a bit. Firstly, you know, computers was a novelty back in the day, and something that was almost sci-fi. But to be honest, what's happened is what was predicted. As the generations change, the uptake of using computing and technology has evolved, and it's part of our everyday life, and that will continue. You know, the way we see computing today is not going to be the way it's going to be in the next 10, 20 years. I mean, it'll be smaller, it'll be an intricate and tangled part of our life. It already is, and it's just going to become more and more and more so. The uptake of putting things in the cloud, for example, you know, we're having less and less hardware on our desks and bulky desktops and so on, and we're ending up with little tiny, you know, boxes that have the ability to do much more than what a big desktop used to do. As I said, everything's going cloud-based, and I can talk about cloud-based in a little while, but you know, it will continue so much so that we'll have more and more power to use. And as the generations grow up with technology, unlike when I went to school, I didn't have a computer. I didn't even know what it was. was true. It was only after that in the workforce that I actually came across one and thought, oh, wow, you know, what is this thing? And I want to know more about it. But yeah, our children are growing up with technology every day. So it's going to be like, you know, no different to eating food and drinking water. That's just going to be part of our lives as the generations evolve.
Absolutely. I'm pleased that you mentioned the cloud, and as a self-professed, not really tech savvy individual, the fact that I've learned to do Zoom over the course of the last few weeks has been an amazing exercise just in itself. Are you able to give me, for my benefit and the viewers, a really simple explanation of what this cloud is and how it works?
Okay, so I'll do my best. Okay. The word cloud really means there is a big building somewhere in a state or in a country it's really a data center. So what it means simply is that instead of having servers and desktops and big machines in each person's office, what they use is these huge buildings, multiple structured buildings, high rises that are just data centers, and everything that we do, which is cloud, what we term cloud-based, actually is residing in a data center somewhere in the world. Now, it could be in Sydney, it could be here in Adelaide, it could be anywhere. And if you really want to know, you know, where your data is being backed up to, you obviously you can find that out. But that's what data centers are. That's what the cloud is data centers around the world, somewhere that look just like an office tower of some description, only it's full of servers in there, and that's where everything lives.
Okay, so the misconception. I
don't know if that made it any clearer. But
do you know what? It's probably the clearest thing I've ever heard, and I'll tell you why. The perception that I've always had, and certainly a lot of people that I know have had when they talk in the cloud, is it's just floating in the ether somewhere. But that's not true. So all it is your data. If your data is stored in the cloud, it's fundamentally stored in a central storage facility that does nothing but store people's data. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely, positively correct. And it was coined the cloud because you couldn't see where this or know where this data center was. So it was just coined that it's up there somewhere.
Okay. There you go.
That's the simplest way I can say it. I mean, there's more to it, but that's
I'm sure there is.
The simplest way I could say it.
I'm sure there is, but that's a really, really good explanation. And for anybody out there, because again, people have this perception that, you know, your data is just floating out somewhere. and I'm thinking, okay, so where is that somewhere? Like, is it just floating? But as you said, it's not there. It's just the term. It's a term. Really, all it is. It's you've, like with iCloud and whatever, you're subscribing to a central storage facility that is somewhere in the world. That's fundamentally it. Wow.
If you liken, and again, this is pretty simplistic, but if you liken, there's a TV station somewhere, and somewhere along the line, you're going to go into your living room, you're going to watch TV. You're saying, well, how does that movie get from A to B? Well, it's the same sort of thing. It's all in the ether. In the cloud. It's same analogy, sort of.
Very helpful. I've learned. I've learned something that's been amazing. Sevva, again, we spoke earlier about the businesses that you deal with and the kind of work that you do.
Yep.
When businesses do come to you, what are some of their biggest single challenge, and has the challenge for those businesses changed pre-COVID-19 to post-COVID-19?
Okay, so COVID-19 has actually caused a lot of people to rethink the way they work. Obviously, we've all had to have a look at and see if work can be done remotely. So there had been a huge surge in setting people up to work from home, which meant obviously laptops, monitors, setting up offices in a remote sense. And and I'll talk about security in a moment as well, because it's kind of come up as an issue more so now because of people working remotely. So I don't know what the outcome, when you say what's going to happen after COVID-19, well, other than the fact that a lot of people are going to realise that they can work from home because they've got the ability to do so, particularly when another thing that we're evolving to is working with Office 365, which is cloud-based. So that means instead of me getting a disk and, for example, and putting Office Word document, Word, Excel onto your PC, you can actually have that in the cloud, as we were talking about, because it's an availability. Sorry, it's a product that's available, which is what they call Office 365, which will be renamed to Microsoft 365 shortly, I believe. But getting back to what you were talking about with COVID-19, many people have realised that there is an ability to actually work remotely. And that may be more so the norm in the future, or certainly an option in the future after, during, as we are now, and after COVID-19. And I think what we'll find is that may help with work-life balance as well. People aren't going to have to commute. I think we've all had these conversations amongst our friends and family that, it's great, I don't have to get in the car and spend half an hour or an hour to get to work and do that at the end of the day. I can, roll out of bed, go into my office and do what I've got to do. So that may be a way of life that we're going to see more and more of, where people have the option, even if it's not all week, certainly during the week, a few days, and to be able to work from home. So I see that happening more and more. I've probably forgotten your question, to be honest, but I'm not sure I answered it.
I guess no. You did, and look, you led quite well into post COVID-19, and I'm just going to digress for a very brief moment. We do see a lot of businesses having had to adapt and begin to work from home to continue to function. I'm wondering, and I had this conversation with a good mate of mine recently. Businesses, I think, may, depending on what kind of business it is, may reevaluate their leasing and their buildings and things like that on the basis that working out that, hey, hang on a minute, I don't need to have a building that can accommodate 50 people because I can get 47 of them to work from home. I only need a building that will accommodate 3 people. So I think there's potential down the track that this will have an impact in other areas as well.
And that ties in with Office 365 and working with teams and being able to collaborate the way we are at the moment with Zoom, despite obviously a few failings from a security point of view, but Teams is certainly not that way. That's what it's been designed for, working remotely and being able to collaborate via the Teams product in Microsoft Office 365.
Yeah. And you mentioned Zoom, and I read a really interesting article where for the entire year, last year, Zoom had 10 million meeting attendees. And in the first 3 months of this year, they had in excess of 200 million meeting attendees. So that's absolutely gone through the roof.
Which is why they've been scrambling for trying to secure their system more so than they had previously.
Yeah, because there clearly have been some failings, things that they never, well, I'm sure nobody really anticipated where we're at the moment. But talk to us a little bit about security in terms of some of the security issues, but also what not only what businesses can do, but even somebody like myself who now does conduct meetings on Zoom. And a lot of the stuff that I do discuss is confidential, you know, with clients, with things like that. So what can we do from a security perspective to protect not only ourselves, but our clients as well?
Okay. Well, with Zoom, for starters, I mean, I know the organisation, from what I've read as well, is trying to do more as far as their security protocols are concerned. But what I think you can do is obviously ensure that when you're using your settings, that you make sure that you use the password function. And when you set up a meeting, for example, as you do, Con, is make sure that you put people into a waiting room and you invite them in from a waiting room. And the reason for that is that if you don't do that and you just leave it open for people to invite themselves in, then you could get people bombing your meetings and therefore you're not secure. So the best thing is for the host to actually put people into a waiting room, and actually they are the ones that invite them into the meeting, so that you can be selective and secure in that way. So that's the Zoom sort of thing. As far as other things that are for security is concerned, when we talk about businesses, for example, and having their employees working from home, the best thing to make sure, the best security I can suggest is that they use a VPN, a virtual private network, which is secure, to actually have them access the data and the systems into the business. So that's probably the best thing that they could do, is have a virtual private network and not just connect to the server by any other means, like, you know, I don't know, hypothetically TeamViewer or anything else that they might have active to them. Sorry about that. That's my phones here. I apologise for that. I'll just turn them down. A bit better.
That's all right.
Sorry, we've all got our phones connected, and we've got them connected to our mobile, so I can answer the office if I'm at home. So there you go. Okay. So I apologise for that.
That's all right. Okay.
So getting back to security, things to do. Be very, very careful. At the moment, I read something the other day, and I'm just going to grab it. There has been, it says here, there's been a rapid spike in the number of coronavirus-related email attacks, up to 667% since the end of February.
Wow.
So what that really, since the end of February, and that's because people are working from home, and people have been taking, hackers, for example, have been taking advantage of the coronavirus ID, knowing that people are working from home, which is why I'm talking about people having a virtual private network to connect into their business. People know that a lot of people working from home probably may or may not have those, and they're vulnerable to being hacked. There are things that we need to consider, like phishing emails, making sure that when you're opening an email, if it looks suspect, go and hover your mouse over the link that it's asking you to go to. And if it's not the exact address that that you believe this email should have come from, then you know it's suspicious. So don't open the link at all. And if you are suspicious or concerned or have any hesitation about going down or knowing about where that link has come from, that email's come from, then contact the person that you think it's come from and ask them if they've actually sent it to you before opening any links, because the hackers and scammers out there certainly have had a lot of practice over the years to ensure that they can see that and copy government organisations like Australia Post and the ATO, and almost make people question whether they're real or not, because they look quite real sometimes. Other things to look out for.
And I can vouch for that, because it wasn't long ago I got an email from Australia Post, and I looked at it, and it was absolutely dead set, like I was convinced it was real. And the only thing that stopped me from opening the link, I knew that I actually didn't have a parcel on the way. Had I ordered something and was expecting something, I reckon there's a 99% chance I would have opened that email.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so,
And a lot of people get caught the same way. Look, even I will from time to time look at things that I might have a relationship with, either, I don't know, whether it be Origin or Optus or whoever it is, and I think, oh, I've got an invoice, and I look at it twice, only because I have to be suspicious of everything at the moment when it comes through. But so should everybody else. You should all be suspicious of what comes through. If it doesn't look right, as I said, hover over the link, make sure that that is the exact address of where it should be coming from. And if there's anything that's different, especially if it's got a short sort of .ly or something like that, that's very, very suspicious. So please don't open those links, people, please. There are other things that people need to do as far as security is concerned that's really, really important, and that is your backups. I'd just like to clarify something that maybe people aren't aware of. People with the cloud now use OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox, right? I'd just like to say, please don't think that because everything goes to the cloud that it's backed up, because it's not. I just want to clarify for you to understand. When you do something on your computer and it gets saved to the cloud, okay, what you're saving is what's on your computer. So first things first, say you get a virus. If you save something and it's on your computer, if you get a virus on your computer and then it goes to the cloud where you think it's nice and safe, right? What you're doing is actually copying the virus from your computer to the cloud. Okay, that's first of all. So having antivirus software is extremely important. I can't stress that enough. That's first and foremost, and having a good antivirus software. You can have antivirus software that's free. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good antivirus software. Because what you'll also need to remember is no antivirus software in the world is going to capture every single virus that comes out. The reason for that is they have something that they call day zero, and that is a organization that creates antivirus software doesn't know that there's a new virus out until somebody's got it. They can't fix something they don't know that's out there. Okay, so it's not going to pick up every single solitary one, but good ones will pick up most. So that's very important. So sorry.
So just on that, do you have a recommendation on antivirus software? Is there one that you prefer, or?
Well, there's one that we put on all our people's machines. It's called WebRoot. It's world class. It's not expensive, and that's what we use for all our clients.
Okay, all right, fantastic.
And I'm not saying it's the only one, but that is an excellent product. As far as getting back to your backups and cloud storage, so what happens is you may get with whoever you're dealing with, right? Whether it's Google Drive or it's Dropbox or whatever it is that you're using, you may get up to 30 days of the ability to, if you delete a file or it becomes corrupt, you may be able to have up to 30 days, I would say it is, to actually download that file or that folder. But after that, it disappears. So if you want your data to be backed up long term, right, so that you can go back to it after a year or whatever it is, okay, then you actually need to get backup data. Sorry, you need to get a backup software in the cloud.
Okay, that's really interesting, because again, because that's certainly something that I and in fact, speaking to other people, you know, I have certain files on Google Drive only so I can access them remotely, you know, my presentations and things. You know, God forbid I lose my USB or whatever. And I've always just been of this assumption that because it's on Google Drive, it's up there and it's safe and it's protected. But clearly that is not the case.
It is for a period of time. Right? But as I said, when you have your data up in Google Drive, whatever is on your machine is what goes there. So if your machine gets infected, okay, and you don't have a backup, either an external drive, you know, in your office or in the cloud. It can be either, okay? But if you don't have a backup and you get a virus on your machine, all you're doing is you're copying what's on your machine onto the
cloud.
drive.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. 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 Sevva, time is getting away from us, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And I personally have learned so much. So if I'm sure there are many, many, many people that will learn from this. One thing I just want to, I guess, I want you to pull out your crystal ball and tell me, yep, polish it up there. What do you see as the biggest single development or change in your industry in IT, let's say in the next 5 or between now and say 5 years, just the one biggest single thing that you can see that's coming?
You know, that's oh gosh, that's hard. Not quite sure, to be honest, but I tell you one thing that should be coming, that's not.
Okay.
That I'm hope will be coming, and that is legislation around how the global conglomerates behave. There is not enough, and this is a career path for anybody out there who wants to be a lawyer or write legal documents. The IT space has been so underdeveloped as far as legalities are concerned and legislation of some description on a global basis that it's frightening. And then there's a lot of, what do they call it? The dark web stuff going on out there as well. So I don't know where we're heading. It's a bit like, you know, Star Trek in the next universe. I don't know, but it's going to be exciting, whatever it is.
Yeah, speaking to my sister the other day, and we were talking about where it's all headed, and I remember years ago, and for those that are old enough to remember, Dick Tracy, the comic book detective, and he used to talk into his and we used to go, geez, that'll never ever happen. Well, here we are, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the sci-fi stuff we used to watch in movies is where we're going with technology, and it's very exciting.
Exactly. Sevva, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you. There's a number of things that we could discuss in much, much more detail, and we'll explore those moving forward. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Con. I am the Conversationalist. Please stay safe and stay protected and stay positive. Until next time, bye for now. Bye.